Hello, hello, hello. It is Smashinbob, and this is a build showcase for the Fire Hexblast Fire Lady occultist thing, Ignite. Okay. Alright, so let's go into the map showcase. Just grab an atoll. It's very popular this league. And yeah, let's go into the showcase. Oop. Alright, so what is this build about? The build is relatively quite cheap, would make a great starter build. It's not really like specialized in anything, but it's pretty good as a map, as a mapper, I guess. We blow up packs quite nicely, as you can see, and we only use the Hexblaster pretty much for mapping. This is also a curse build for bosses. We also self-cast curses. I'll show soon enough. Okay. So we put the self-curse, and we put the Hex Blast, and we curse again. And that's pretty much it. So it's usually just one application of the Ignite is enough for the map bosses. Maybe it wouldn't be if you got like some trickier mods or something. Yeah. We also have pretty good defenses overall. We got this amount of block chance. We have almost 10,000 life plus energy shield. And of course we have the curses, we have temporal chains that slows the enemy's action speed. We have enfeeble that lowers their damage. And the thing from the occultist which also lowers their damage. So it's like probably like around 20% less damage from enemies when we apply our curses. So we are definitely quite tanky when we need to be. And of course being ranged and with Ignite means that we don't really have to be stationary at any time, so it's like super easy to kind of stay safe. Alright, so that was the atoll. I didn't do any rituals, but I usually skip them, so I mean, it wouldn't really change anything. You would probably maybe use place some Armageddon brands around the ritual. Maybe do one, I guess. Trap. Yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna do all of them. Just there it is. It's done. Alright. Let's do a boss. I'm just gonna do a guardian or something. I haven't done many bosses on this build. So we're just gonna do like a phoenix or something. I'm pretty sure like Cirrus and stuff will be relatively easy on this. Especially if it to be min-maxed a bit more, because to be honest, there's still a lot of things in this build that I haven't really done. This looks okay. Mods. 25% monster life might make it a bit longer to do it. Whatever. We going in, baby. What? But yeah, mapping is really nice. It's not like the fastest mapper ever, but it's... You only need to like use Hexblaster once and you blow up a decent chunk of the packs. Also, I mean, one of the general problems with like conquerors and well, conquerors are rather easy though, but like, you know, the shaper, guardian stuff is that they have less effective curses applied on them. And since we're a cursed build, we do much less damage to guardians than we do to normal map bosses. Okay, so we start with the curse, then we apply the Hexblast, we curse again, we'll put the Armageddon brand for stuff, right? And that's pretty much it. We're just gonna reapply the curse. Alright, and that's pretty much it. Would be a bit faster if there was no, you know, the 25% monster life. But yeah. And of course, if we min-max the build a bit more, we're currently just level 91, so there's still plenty of levels. There's also a lot of the gear stuff and things like that that I haven't really got the best thing around because I was just testing the build and I wanted to keep the price kind of manageable. Like a lot of the cluster nodes on the medium ones are not the best in slot. I just took some that are like slightly cheaper. And of course with you know, with a bit more levels we could chuck in 2 more medium clusters here or something. So there is still plenty of room to improve. Another thing would be to possibly add aspect of the spider instead of the discipline. I'm currently using discipline, but we generally want to have the same amount of life as energy shield, right? So the discipline like kind of puts our energy shield way above the life pool, but we want to kind of keep it close to each other. So we could definitely run without the discipline and possibly run aspect of the spider for more damage, because we have corrupted soul, right, which makes damage be split between life and energy shield, right? So it's not, there isn't much point in having more energy shield. I mean, there is, I guess, in some cases, but not much. Alright, let me show you the mechanics of the build, right? And what is important. So the first thing is we do need to have one curse as an aura curse. The reason is, that was the vengeance from the stuff. The reason is because we got a huge area effect for Hexblast, right? The Hexblast gets, it's not actually, it's listed that also deals area damage to other enemies around the target if a hex was removed, but that's technically it's written wrong. Basically, if you have an aura curse, it will still technically count as being removed and you will still get area of effect, right? If we turn off the temporal chains, right, and we don't have an aura curse, as you can see, we target just, the Hexblaster just targets one guy at a time, which is very inefficient and wouldn't really do good. So as soon as we turn on the aura curse again, as you can see, we get the area of effect, right? So having one curse as an aura is absolutely important, just to have the increased area of effect. Okay. Next, when you're fighting bosses, right? You want to maximize the damage, and this is where the self curse comes into play. So the self curse also applies some few additional curses, right? But this is basically what you want to do. So when you're fighting a boss, you put a self cast curse, and when it bloops like that, bloop, when that bloop comes on, then you get the maximum doom on the curse, right? We do that with the Doomsday, right? Which lasts for 1 second, and when it ends, all hexes in the area gain maximum doom. Well, actually only the self-casted ones, right? So only the despair. So we cast it, we wait for the bloop, bloop, and then we cast the Hexblast, and then we need to cast the curse again, because despair scales are damaged, right? And it gets removed with the first use of the Hexblast, so we need to reapply it. So it's curse, Hexblast, curse, right? And always wait for the bloop before using the Hexblast, right? So, oh, vengeance. Alright, so that's basically it. Then we have the Armageddon brand. Armageddon brand is just for utility. Now, what we have on it is increased duration. So it lasts about 10 to 12 seconds, something like that. Energy leech support and life leech support, because usually when we get damage, the damage is split to both life and energy shield, so we can leech both quite effectively. It's basically just to give us something to recover our life when we get damaged. It works quite well. And then of course also added Culling Strike and Immolate, because, you know, why not? Now this setup, of course, you don't initially need a 6-link for this. You can run it just in a 4-link. You just maybe remove the Immolate and Culling, for instance. Because this would be a pretty good starter build, right? The main weapon is a unique, so it's super cheap. You know, it's just Martyr of Innocence, and you don't have to link it. You can run like a Tabula Rasa, right, in the chest piece where you have your main damage setup. So yeah, pretty cheap. There's, you know, mostly just uniques, and all the rares are pretty much just life, energy shield, and resistances, right? That's all they do, and the rest of the uniques would be rather cheap as well. Maybe they would be slightly more expensive, like Star League, but you know, most things are. But yeah, quite snazzy. We're using Black Flame. This makes the ignite to deal chaos damage instead of fire damage. That's why we don't use flammability, we don't use elemental weakness, because it would not do anything. We need to lower the enemy chaos resistance. That's why we self-casted Despair. This is also nice for the, you know, the occultist ascendancy, which drops the chaos stress by -20, and the wither and all of that stuff. But we still scale fire damage percent increases instead of the chaos damage. It's only that the resistance needs to be lowered by chaos. But percent increased chaos damage would not increase the damage of the ignite. It's still percent fire damage, right? So that's pretty much it about the mechanics. Just to repeat once more, for the boss, you self-cursed, bloop, Hexblast, curse again, put the Armageddon brand just to get life, energy shield leech, and, you know, eventually Culling Strike. And that's it. Usually most map bosses will just die from the one application of Hexblast. If they don't, you just repeat again. The ignite duration is about 5 seconds-ish or something, depending on how many faster ignite nodes you take from the cluster jewels. And stuff like that. Now, of course, there is still quite a bit of room to kind of min-max some of the gear. One thing I think I already mentioned, the aspect of the spider instead of the discipline would probably be a better choice. So we put the aspect on a spider on one of your gear pieces. We could also go for an opal ring here instead of the vermilion ring. Just to get more damage, if you want to get more damage instead of having a vermilion for more defense. Of course, this belt could also be much better. It could be a Stygian or something, but this was rather cheap on the market, so I just grabbed it. Yeah, pretty much, not too expensive overall. I mean, some of this gear might look expensive, but you obviously don't have to have that expensive gear. There's plenty of other cheaper alternatives. The potions are also quite simple. We just have immune to curses, we have immune to bleed on the life potions. This is my usual setup. And then we have the Cinder Swallow and Rumi's Concoction for block. This is just generally good for mapping. And a Sulfur Flask. And then, of course, I also have some reduced effect of chill and shock on the boots. And I took all these notes here for reduced effect of shock and reduced effect of, shock and chill. It's a lot. We're basically, I don't know where is that listed. It is actually not. But a lot of things, we just generally, the elemental ailments don't affect us as much. Like the duration of ignite is like only 50%, so any ignite we receive will last twice as less. Effect of chill and shock would be, let me see, 30 plus 15, so that's 45 plus the 25% on boots. We technically have 75% reduced effect of chill and shock on us, right? Which is quite, I don't know, plus 5 here. No, 80%. So basically, when somebody shocks us, it's only for the, or chills us, or freezes us, only for the like 20% of effectiveness. So we're really not affected much by freezes and chills and shocks, right? So there's that. Other defensive mechanics is obviously the curses themselves. There is a malediction here, which makes enemies deal 10% reduced damage. Then we have enfeeble, which makes them deal 15% less damage. That is the unique enemies. Normals deal 30% less damage, right? But just the uniques 15%. Then the plus 10% reduced. And we also, of course, have temporal chains, making their action speed slower. And we also, I think, hinder them somehow. I don't know, probably ascendancy. So defensively, we're pretty good, and on top of that, a pretty high life/energy shield pool. Makes this build rather safe. Alright. Another curse we have is vulnerability, but this is just for damage, because ailments inflicted on cursed enemies deal damage 20% faster. Right. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We also have the Edra. The Edra will be much better with an actual enchant for Hexblaster or something, rather than this corruption. I randomly bought it with the corruption. And then the Solstice Vigil is pretty good. Gives life, gives damage, gives the free aura, right? You could technically go for a rare amulet, but Solstice Visual just gives quite nice stuff for us, and especially the 8 mana region, because we just generally don't invest anything into mana region, and since you can kind of get pretty low on your mana reservation, you know, it helps a lot to have that 8 mana region, just so you don't run out of mana while casting crap. You don't cast very often, you know, but yeah. That's about it. I allocated the Burning Brutality just for more damage. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna include obviously the pet of building, and I'm gonna put in the pet of building, like I'm gonna put the current pet of building, and I'm gonna put the more of the Minmax version, I guess, with the aspect and everything else, just so if you wanna go further with the build, or you know, you can check both the versions. Yeah, and that's about it. The build is pretty nice. There isn't like anything special about it. It's not like a super fast map clear. It's not anything, you know, special, but it's, you know, it's okay. It's different defenses, pretty good survivability. Would be really good as a starter build because there's nothing really super expensive. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the build as it is. So yeah, anyways, thank you for watching, and goodbye.